First, I want to find out in your experience with talking to so many people who've had experiences, your own personal experiences, and your own research. Do you think the majority of people's contact experiences are positive?
Yeah, I do. When I first started getting involved in this field, I was horrified. I have to tell you, yeah, I was pretty upset about the whole abduction phenomena. People being kidnapped against their will and subjected to horrific experiments is how I kind of looked at it. And took me a while to really become more objective, gather more testimonies from firsthand witnesses. There's a lot of speculation in this field. There's disinformation. There's Our society is a little bit fear-based, and this kind of colors, I think, people's accounts. And I started to really look at what is going on when someone is taken on board a UFO, and break it down and see, is this a good thing or is this not? And yeah, I've kind of come to the conclusion that this is actually great news for all of us. This is a really wonderful experience for most people. And yeah, I still have a little bit of trouble with people being kidnapped off a lonely road late at night. I mean, that's hard to, rationalize that as being a good experience. But when someone is taken on board, certainly the most common experience is people are physically examined. And no one really likes going to the doctor, even though we know it's good for us. And what I found is that there are an enormous number of healing accounts. I've documented, that was actually my first book, UFO Healings. And I put out a new volume. Originally, I found 100 cases. I've now since found more than 300. And that is absolutely one of the ET's primary agendas, the healing of humanity. And I have found cases of people healed of, you name it, colds to cancer, minor conditions, cuts, bruises, broken bones, stomach aches, back aches, but serious conditions as well. Heart condition, liver disease, kidney stones, very serious diseases like diphtheria and tuberculosis and diabetes. And the list goes on and on. 30 plus cases of people healed of cancer. Right on down the line, every part of the body, the ETs have cured people, chronic conditions, the whole deal. So that's very encouraging. I thought, okay, that's what they're doing here in a lot of these cases. It's not just collecting genetic material and experimenting. No, they are practicing medicine. And if you look at these ET accounts in an objective fashion, yeah, there's a very strong medical theme that runs through them. UFOs are, in a sense, like floating hospitals. Only real difference is no insurance required. And yeah, it's really, I sort of like, wow, this is amazing. And people do have a lot of fear, but people who are having extensive encounters often move past that. And they're not paralyzed when they're on board. They're given free rein. They can walk around. And when people get messages, when they're able to, have the peace of mind to actually converse with these ETs, and this is true for whether it's grays or praying mantids, or human looking, or just strange humanoids, they're given very encouraging messages. Probably number one would be warnings of nuclear proliferation, warnings about pollution, warnings about our warlike ways, something along these lines. They're very concerned about us. They're very concerned about how we're treating our planet. So that's really good news, and I think speaks towards, why are these guys here? Why are they contacting us? And moving along those lines, it's also very common for people to be taken to the engine room or the control center. And they are taught how these craft fly, literally in great detail in some cases, particularly if a person is educated enough to understand it. They will provide you with detailed plans on even how to build a free energy motor. A number of contactees are working very hard along these lines. They will sit you in the chair and teach you how to fly the craft, actually let you fly it. Not uncommon. My book, Onboard UFO Encounters, I think that happened to 4 or 5 of the witnesses. So that's really cool. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah,
And
that is cool.
right? And so I'm like, wow, this is really good news for us. And another thing that I found, and this is a very strong theme, there's a really strong spiritual component to UFO encounters. Yeah, this is a nuts and bolts phenomena. People are being physically taken. This is not, a psychological projection by any means. And people are coming back from their encounters spiritually transformed. They are taught a very wide variety of spiritual wisdom. So by that I mean people are taught healing, hands-on healing, Reiki. That's very prominent among contactees, as well as astral travel, out-of-body experiences, channeling, psychic readings, past lives, all these really amazing spiritual things are teaching us and waking us up to our own superhuman potentials. I mean, we do have the ability to levitate. Can't tell you how many contactees I've talked to, like, oh yeah, I did have a levitation episode. I'm like, seriously, you physically levitated? Yes, I wrote a book about this, human levitation. We do have the ability to fly. And I didn't think it was really related to UFOs until I started getting all these accounts. I mean, it happened to Whitley Strieber. He levitated. It happened to that doctor in France who was healed of an axe wound on his foot and partial paralysis. It's a very famous case from Jacques Vallée. He had 2 levitation episodes. So my point is, ETs are teaching us what we can do, and it's amazing.
Yeah, the spiritual aspect, I think, is one of the hardest things to get across to people, especially people with religious dogma. I had very frustrating conversations the past couple of days with some pretty, devout. I think one was a Catholic, one was Christian or something. And I was talking to them about the spiritual aspect of some of these ET contact experiences and even my own. And they couldn't handle it. And they got very angry at the conversation. And I had to end it because, it's like, it's not worth getting angry over. But I find that's one of the hardest aspects to get across to people. Is that something you think you'd agree with?
Yeah, I have been on some shows where with fundamentalist Christians who believe wholeheartedly that this is a demonic phenomenon.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not, because I don't just research UFOs. Early on, I'm like, wow, you saw ghosts too. You've had a near-death experience. And people have a wide variety of paranormal experiences. This is pretty much the norm for a contactee because they are blown wide open. They are not only seeing UFOs, they are experiencing a lot of stuff coming at them at once. And there are bad ghosts. There are bad spirits. I bought all the books on demonology. I did my own investigations into what I would call horrific hauntings, where people were, brought all the way to possession. And I can say pretty much, I mean, the evidence for bad spirits and demons is pretty compelling, and for angels, for that matter. But it's a different phenomena. It follows a very set pattern, as does a UFO experience. It follows a basic series of events, and a demonic haunting does as well. It's a separate phenomena. A demonic haunting is really an attempt on the spirits to destroy that person and make their life very difficult. And like, by their fruits you shall know them. And when someone comes away from a UFO experience, boy, oh boy, they are transformed positively. And yes, it can be very scary, especially in the beginning. And it challenges religious beliefs. And I think those are the people who are going to have a hard time with this. I know for myself, when I got into UFOs, I was very skeptical. I wasn't religious, but I had my belief system. I was pretty much a materialist. And it shattered my worldview. And I was not a happy camper. I was very upset. I was scandalized. And so I kind of get where they're coming from. But I think it's very important to be objective. It's very important to be adaptable. You don't want to lock into any belief system because we are evolving. There's always room for improvement. There's always things to learn. And I think we have to realize that we can't be too anthropocentric. We aren't the center of the universe. Just look at the stars. I mean, for goodness sake, just look out there and it's pretty clear we're not alone. I mean, every major scientist agrees with that. There's just no way. So yeah, we're right on the verge of being welcomed into this wonderful galactic community. And
yeah, we live in exciting times. There's a lot going on right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm very encouraged about how this is all rolling out. I'm super encouraged to see our government and governments across the world becoming more truthful and transparent with the UFO phenomena. And I think as soon as disclosure really rolls out, that's when we're going to see open official contact. It's coming. Oh, it might come this year, or I feel it coming.